The biggest excuse I used to tell myself as a tradesman was that I had no time. And it really came down to a couple key factors. But the most important one was that I just didn't have my priorities in check. And not having my priorities in check was simply the excuses that I would hold to myself as to why I would never make time in my day. And the thing is that I actually had so much time, I just wasn't really resourceful with my time. And in this video, I'll be breaking down step by step how you can do the exact same thing so you do not make the mistakes that I did throughout my whole fat loss journey. The objective of this video is to build you out a framework that you can take into your day-to-day life that will literally remove all of your decision fatigue and to allow you to prioritize and manage your stress levels so that you're not scrambling after a long shift. And the way we're going to do this is simply start at the beginning. You need to start at the beginning. So stay tuned to the end of this video. You're not going to want to miss it.
We are live. We are live. I just want to make sure this mic is working. Most guys in the trades do not lack time. You just lack priorities and systems inside of your life that we will be going over in today's video. So fundamentally, you need to start with the baseline. In order to see any form of progress, you need to start with your mindset. Your mindset and your identity is what drives every single thing. And I hammer this in a lot through my videos because it's super important. It's exactly how I was able to break free from my toxic habits. So here's what we're going to start off with. Time is not the issue. It's your priority protection. And you need to start first with the mental shift. And the way I've broken up a lot of my mental, let me just clip this fucker on. Why don't we do that in it? So you need to understand this super quickly. In order for you to remotely step into a better state of building these priorities, you need to start with your mental patterns. So first, we're going to break down the 4-step formula that I've genuinely used for over the past year and a half that has literally changed my life. And that starts off with awareness. You need to become problem aware that you are genuinely making excuses up. You're saying you don't have time, and you need to really understand that in your life, if you don't see the problem, then you're never going to achieve anything or even get to that next step. You're just going to always say, I want to change. Nothing's working for me. I don't have time. I have a family, I have kids, I have all this shit to commit to, but it's really not working out. So we need to start at a baseline, which is awareness. After awareness, you want to prepare. You want to plan. So it's like, okay, I've already assessed my problem now. What will I be doing to get myself into a better position? Maybe that's just starting with the smallest thing, waking up in the morning and prioritizing certain parts of your day. Maybe that is you just cutting out some of the bad decisions that you have around your time and just getting some momentum going for yourself, right? Because change does not happen overnight. Change is the daily effect of you doing the small continuous habits over a long consecutive period of time, which then becomes subconscious and become your identity. Next up, you want to execute those things. So by executing them, you're really putting them into place. So it's like, are you following what your calendar says? Are you coming home from work, sitting your ass on the couch? Are you generally going out and doing the thing? Maybe you have to stay up a little bit later to meal prep. Are you doing that? Or are you just sleeping because you would rather prioritize that over getting to your goals? See, these are all the questions and the mental things that you ask yourself when you execute on these things you've developed. And after that is the most important one. No schedule is the same for any single person, whether or not you work in the trades or you just have a really busy life. But this is primarily for the guys in the trade. So if you're not watching, fucking scroll off. Next up, you need to review and adjust your goals. You can't just try out something and say, oh, it didn't work, I'm done. You can't just say that. And especially you and I both know, as we both know as people who work in the trades, that our schedules are inconsistent, our hours are inconsistent, and sometimes even the job or just the travel is super high in demand, which takes up a lot of time. However, we are not screwed over, so keep watching. You want to review and adjust these things, though. You want to adjust your plans to your schedule. Maybe I'll move to a new site. Maybe something happened in your life where you have to take a U-turn, which is completely normal. We are human beings. We thrive, which is completely normal because we are human beings, right? We struggle a lot of the times and we go through things. That is completely normal. And the problem is that society, and especially social media, has false idolized people's success, and you just see that these people are winning when these people are not living your current situation. These people are not walking in your shoes. And the people that are giving you these generic fat loss tips and advice, or these people telling you X, Y, and Z, are probably corporate guys that are sitting their ass down in an office chair all day that you and I both know have not a single clue what we go through in a day-to-day basis. So now that we got that out the way, we need to come over to this section. This is like the bridge gap between your current state and where you want to be. So let's be honest for a minute. What you really need in your life is not another spreadsheet. It's not some dude barking in your ear telling you you're doing everything wrong and that you need to pick up the pace. It's simply that you need something to lean into when your life turns into chaos, which a lot of the times we both know working in the trades, it does get messy. So, this is where we're going to implement the framework, which is the most important part of this video. I said it here. Hold up. I said it here. I'm looking at my notes right now. So, guys, this is my first take, so bear with me here. The blue collar men, the average Joe does not know the physical and mental fatigue we experience on a day to day basis. This is the meat and potatoes, the reason why you guys are here, which is the frameworks. So, let's start off with the actual framework that I've created. In order to achieve positive habits and to break from the excuses that you have, you need to do one of two things. First off, you need to time block. I don't care how busy your life is, right? The pain of staying the same has to be far worse than the pain of wanting to change because that will force you to take action. And that is where bro, this fucking thing's turned off on me. And that is why you need to time block around the things that are important in your day. However, this is the part where most people go wrong. You need some form of reward system that will trigger your brain to say, I deserve this because I did this. You do not want to take out from your life because if you extract everything out of your life, how are you going to tell me you need to enjoy that? Because maybe you have a very important commitment that you have to do every single day, but you're trying to balance between my goals and not having your goals. And I can speak on this because as someone who is training for a marathon, working 50-hour weeks, I can tell you how challenging it was some days to get my ass up and go train. However, at the same time, I knew that I had an objective. I knew I had a goal to train for. And I also knew I had other commitments in my life that were super important. And this is exactly why I would create a reward system. So every time I did the thing, even though you're not going to feel it because we all know motivation is the most unreliable shit ever. And this is what I mean. When you have a goal and you're striving for it, you are adding something that is abnormal into your life. But most people don't tell you that when you add something very abnormal like that, it's really hard to stay consistent with it. It's like those people who say those New Year's resolutions, like, I'm going to quit doing this. I'm going to quit drinking. But then what happens 3 weeks later? You fall short because you have nothing to lean into and nothing to reinforce the positive behavior back to yourself. And this is where most people go wrong and why most generic fat loss advice literally just pisses me off. So now that we got that out of the way, it's pretty friggin' simple, right? And so this is the most important part. You want to insert one task. That could be going to the gym after work. That could be waking up earlier in the mornings, getting yourself prepped for work. Or maybe it's setting a bedtime alarm for yourself, which I highly advise a lot of you guys to do because we set alarms for waking up in the morning, but how often do you hear someone set an alarm to go to bed? After that, this is the most important part. Going to your reward systems. I really want to hammer into this for you guys because rewarding yourself for your specific task is going to make a higher likelihood of you staying consistent with it. And at the same time, it's just going to generically make it like a plug and play. I guarantee you after 3 or 4 weeks, you are going to be auto defaulting these things. So that could be having an energy drink. That could be playing video games. That could be diet soda. That could be doing some random hobby that you have. But key thing here, said anything that brings you joy but adds resistance to your daily life. And what I mean by this is having resistance in your life. Maybe it's a bad habit of scrolling. Maybe it's a bad habit of doing this, this, and this. Completely removing it is not good. It's a no-no. We've already discussed that. However, when you do make peace with the things that are bringing resistance in your life, you are able to control yourself better. It's like, what if I told you to completely cut out all the junk food in the world and then said, here, take this meal plan. You have to eat X, Y, and Z. And then what happens after you achieve that result? You might resort to a bad binge eating habit that you had even before you lost weight, which is hence why most people who try keto end up getting fat again because carbohydrates were out of the picture. So when they reintroduce them, they get fat. That is exactly why you need to work with your toxic habits, reduce them down to the point where they're a sliver, and then maybe then you could just eliminate them from your life. By eliminating it, it isn't growth, it is avoidance. You do not want to avoid everything, you want to be able to work with it, because guess what? It's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And that's exactly so. So my go-to method of doing this was setting it up through a Google Calendar. I would always put reminders on, and that basically not forget or bypass from the things that I promised myself. So for me, Google Calendar is just super amazing. I would always color code the most important things in my day. So literally here, my swim. This is literally my calendar from last week. As someone who's pretty busy all the time, you're seeing it right here. My swim is booked off in red. That means it's high value, high importance. I had that time booked for myself so that nothing would get in the way. And I still made time for the other things. And the reason why I like using a Google Calendar, especially on this big open sheet, is it kind of reiterates your brain. You're like, okay, I actually have a lot more time than I thought. Like when you see the day, the 24-hour period in a hole like that, I guarantee you, you'd be amazed at how many gaps are actually there. Because once you start to fill in certain slots of your day, you're like, wow, there's a big gap between here. And then you realize that maybe I do have enough time and I'm just making an excuse, which is exactly why you're here. And that was the exact reinforcement system I really want to show you guys because I have a brutal caffeine addiction. I work in the trades. I get it. So I would, when I was training for my marathon, look, I put in a huge amount of work here. I was putting in busy ass training weeks, but I would always reinforce myself, especially every single Wednesday. I had a habit of every single Wednesday after my super hard track workout, I would reinforce myself with a Ghost energy drink. That way, like, okay, I just got off a 10-hour shift. It is in the scorching heat of the summer. I am going to do this because as a result of doing this hard work that I don't feel like doing, I'm going to get a reinforcement back from it. That is where the growth occurs.
And that is exactly one of the methods I used and what my client used here to help him lose 40 pounds while working 12-hour shifts, all because we built some simple systems into his day to day life. If you are struggling to lose weight and you want to build more systems into your life, book a free call in the link below and we can go over your current situation.